Lankford is next.
Chairman, thank you. Chief Magnus, thanks for dropping by the office and get a chance to be able to visit yesterday, to be able to talk through some things. Let me set context here because I want to ask a larger question, because really the big issue is, what are you going to do? What's the plan? Right now that we're facing this year the highest number of illegal crossing interdictions ever in the history of our country. This year. Now that is after October, November, December, January were low numbers, but mysteriously starting in February all the way to the present, numbers have skyrocketed. We have triple the number of people each month that are crossing the border illegally now than what we had October, November, December, and January. We have the highest amount of methamphetamines crossing our border in the history of our country. We have the highest number of fentanyl crossing our border in the history of our country. We have, as you described yesterday, what the public hates, chaos on our southern border right now. You have described yourself as not an open borders guy, which I appreciate. The big question that we've got to resolve here, stepping into this role, is you're walking into a chaotic situation where we have the highest number of illegal crossings in the history of our country. What is your plan?
Senator, thank you for the question. And of course, if there was a ready-to-go plan to address all the problems that you've just described, my guess is that not only CBP, but you all as a body would have seen to it that it was implemented. I think that key to answering your question is going to be the importance of collaboration, building relationships. I think it's going to be important that the individuals who are making the policy decisions, which obviously include the Secretary, the President, and others, that they get accurate feedback from me based on what I'm seeing in terms of talking to the men and women at the border, in terms of talking to people in border communities. I think getting that accurate information, and as I pledged to you yesterday, my commitment is to be an honest broker around how this works, is going to be very important in terms of formulating a plan. That's something I want to be part of, is those discussions.
So let me drill down a little bit more on this, and that is, how do you evaluate whether it's successful? Reducing the chaos, is that we move people across the border faster? Because when Secretary Mayorkas was in front of the Homeland Security Committee, his statement was, we're getting much better at the border, we're moving people into the country faster. They're not having to stay as long at the border in these camps. We're getting them across the border faster. So my basic question from a law enforcement perspective is, you're a chief law enforcement officer in this role, leading a lot of law enforcement folks. Is your goal to facilitate faster transition from people crossing the border into our country, or is it to prevent people that are illegally crossing our country from coming into our country?
Senator, thank you for the question. And actually, I think it has to be some of both. We are always going to have some degree of people crossing the border. This has been the case now for years. We've had surges. And so
we've never had a surge like this.
Senator, I understand.
This is the highest number ever in the history of our country.
Senator, I understand your concerns, and I don't disagree with you that the numbers are very high. But the bottom line still remains that, first and foremost, we need to enforce the law. And secondly, we need to have a process that's humane and efficient so we can deal with those who are coming across the border, whether it be to seek asylum or for other purposes. So I think, again, to some degree, we have to have both.
So what I'm trying to drill down on is a plan in a sense, and I understand there's both at any point, but the role of a law enforcement officer is to enforce the law. We do it humanely. We do it better than anyone else in the world. So for us, we focus on humane treatment of individuals, whether they commit a crime or don't commit a crime. But we also are working in the deterrent method. Right now, it doesn't feel like we're deterring activity. It looks like we're encouraging it. And I would tell you, for the cartel perspective, clearly they're making a tremendous amount of money incentivizing people to be able to come, and we continue to see record numbers month after month after month. So the border has large gaps in the fencing just south of your house. There in Arizona, where literally the administration stopped on January the 20th and left huge gaps in the fence there. The asylum policy is being treated different. The federal courts have now stepped in to DHS and said they need to put back in the migrant protection protocols again. The administration has yet to be able to do that. There's not been a clear way to articulate what's going to happen to asylum, and there seems to be no answer in Title 42. All of those things together have left a border that is very porous, and all I'm trying to figure out is what is the plan, both with the fencing, how we're going to handle asylum, what's the alternative to Title 42, what we're going to do for individuals that are crossing the border as single individuals, families. It's a multifaceted problem, but there doesn't seem to be a working solution. Even when the federal courts have stepped in and said you have to put in the migrant protection protocols, the administration has yet to do it now.
The time of the gentleman has expired.